tell me where you are watching from, and I'm ready to get started. Let me go ahead and set my attentions and we'll jump right in. Hi, my name is Sherilyn Dorsey, and I am creator and founder of You're More Than Their Mother, and I teach moms and women to reclaim, realign, and rebalance their lives and to go after their dreams. So I think that I entitled this talk we'll do today, have you been conditioned to not believe in yourself? And as I was just mentioning here earlier, one of the easiest ways that you can figure out if you are not believing in yourself is by the results it is that you have in your life. What is it that you have? Where are you in your life right now compared to where it is that you want to be? And once you look at that, my next suggestion to you is to go inward on why you have a separation between those two things. It's not that someone else is holding you back, usually. It's not that there's no way to do it or make it happen, usually. By and large, I would say for both of those things. It is most often you, most specifically, your belief around the thing it is that you have. Your belief around the person it is that you are or the abilities that you have. And my goal is to help you figure out where it is that this belief that you can't came from. Now, again, this is usually a subconscious belief because when you were taught or conditioned not to believe in yourself, it's normally, in the instances that I know of, it's normally a thing that the person who was in charge of you did subconsciously because they were told that they weren't enough or that they couldn't do a certain thing or there was no way that this could be done or no one had done it before them or girls don't do whatever it is that looks like. They had this subliminal teaching going on or in this programming going on in their life, and at some point they decided to believe it. Now I want to be very clear, and you'll know this if you've been following me for a while, but for those of you who need a reminder or you have not followed me and know how I feel about this or my philosophy, the bottom line is what I know and what I believe and what I know for sure is that the things that happened to you while you were a child, perhaps you had no choice in. But we're adults now, and we have a choice in what we think, how we act, and what we choose to believe. So it is up to us to do the work to make that shift in a direction that serves us. So oftentimes we try and go at it alone and we think, well, I'll just talk to my friend or I'll just, work it out or whatever it is that you do in order to get through it. And the reality is there are so many resources out here to help you get through whatever it is that you are going through. Whatever paradigm shift it is that you are looking to change, and that is not to say that you can't do that alone. But you don't have to. If you do it alone, it is absolutely a choice. And if you are in that space right now, then the reality is you don't have the tools right now to make that shift. And if you want something different right now, then my greatest suggestion to you, my greatest offer of consideration to you is to connect with someone who possesses those tools and can share with you the quickest route for you to get there. It is absolutely your work. No one can do your sit-ups for you, right? It is your work, but there are some things we just don't have to reinvent the wheel. Invest in yourself, whatever it is or whomever it is that looks like for you. Alrighty? But so we are at these points in our lives, and the things that's keeping us separate from what it is that we say we want and what it is that we have is most often because we have been conditioned not to believe in ourselves. So let's talk about it from a personal standpoint. And I believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. So who is that who's joining in? I see the numbers going up and down there. So please do tell me where you are from. Say hey there. I want to shout you out. But what, in my experience, what I know is that how you do anything is how you do everything. And how you raise a child and how you talk to them from the time that they're from birth through their adulthood, it really penetrates their being, and it conditions them on how and what to believe about themselves. So it's very important the words it is that we say to our children, the words it is, the words it is that we say in front of them and expose them to. We have to figure out what is our value and what it is that we are trying to teach our children, meaning what's the goal, and then we make decisions on what to expose them to and how to talk to them in accordance with that. Let me give you one small example that when my children were small, people used to always kind of laugh at and, say different things about, but I was never wavering on it, because I knew that I wanted them to value their voice and to understand that their feelings mattered. Here's my confession. I don't like crying. I just don't love it, right? I just don't love it, but it's a fact of life, right? And when I say I don't like crying, meaning whining type of crying, I get, emotions and crying related to an event or activity, things like that. But I'm just talking about a little whining, crying kid or things like that. Or just, maybe it's just a spoiled kid who's just whining and crying a lot and things like that. That annoys me. It annoys me. But I had to really learn to move past my feelings, because the reality is children cry because they want to, right? Because things annoy them, because they can't communicate, because we don't understand whatever reasons they're crying for a reason. So it would be illogical for me to say, shut up, stop crying, just immediately, right? Because I'm annoyed by the crying. What I used to say all the time, and my husband used to do this because he doesn't love crying either. So the first thing he used to say to our girls if they were crying for some reason is, be quiet, stop crying. And man, oh man, especially as a girl, we have 3 girls, especially as a girl who I knew those girls would grow into young women and women in this world, I wanted them to understand that their voice mattered. So to mute them from crying or tell them to stop crying, for me, was equivalent to saying, hey, what you're crying about isn't that important. I want you to listen to me, or to trust what I'm telling you and stop doing that over what it is that you're feeling, whatever angst it is that they had. I don't care if it was even the fact that they could not communicate to us what we wanted, or we didn't give them what they wanted, whatever it was. There was a way that I wanted to talk to my children about how it is that they express their feelings in the world. And it was not going to be to silence them just to make us comfortable. I was emphatic about it. I am to this day. And I'm very grateful that at this point, the time of this recording, my girls understand their voice. They can command any room that they stand in when they choose to speak, right? And I know that that came from small things like that, because how you do small things is how you do all things. So it was that small thing for me that said, this is important. My goal is that my girls own the power of their voice, trust what it is that they feel. So small things like that mattered. And of course, they were amended as they got older, right? Alrighty, so that's one way in which I decided that I was going to condition my girls to value themselves. Because I wanted them to understand, number one, that we valued them. Even when we weren't comfortable, even when we were irritated by what it is that they were doing, we still valued their voice. We still valued who they were. And when my children felt that, then that made them more confident in what it is that they did and how they showed up in school, in events, in sporting activities, whatever it is that they look like, because they were mirrored back the importance of their existence through how it is that we treated them, right? So tell me if that makes sense in the comments, even if you are watching this on the replay. That's just one small example. I'm sure that you have examples. Let me tell you the opposite of that, and what I see so often in people, and most of my peers now, their children are older. Some of them are even grandparents. Listen, we are really grown over here. I am 43 years old, so certainly some of my peers have grandchildren at this point. But let me tell you some of the things I've seen. And actually, one of them was really just in that example, even with my husband. When we tell him to shut up. When we tell people, you should have. Well, you should have did this. Well, hindsight is 20/20. And if we want to hold people hostage to what we know after the fact, then that will keep them constantly second guessing things before they even act the next time, because they're trying to think it all the way out. And there's no way that we can know what's going to happen all the time until it happens. We can absolutely make our best guesses, but what we can do is create a space for them to be comfortable in, to say that I want you to make informed decisions, but I want you to know that whatever you decide, I support you. Now, this is your red wagon to pull, whatever it is. I won't take it over. I won't do it for you. No one can do your sit-ups for you. But I want you to know that I love you, and I trust that you're going to make a good decision, because you are a critical thinker, you are discerning, and I believe in you. So no matter what it is, we have no problem owning whatever the outside of that looks like, whatever that consequence looks like, because we, first of all, know that consequences aren't always bad. Consequences is a parade and claps and yays and all that, just as they are boos and whatever else comes with that. But having the confidence or believing in yourself enough to know that no matter what that thing looks like, I own it. And I know that at any moment I can make a new decision, because I trust myself to do that. And whomever doesn't honor me and honor my voice in that way, they can remove themselves from my life, or I can do that for them. Right? And that has translated into their adulthood. So I want you to know that those things matter. Even as we're looking at our kids as teenagers, as young adults and things like that, here's another thing I didn't allow with my children. I have 3 girls, like I told you earlier. One thing that I always heard, and it was always crazy to me because it was many times from women, is that, 3 girls, girl, get ready. They get on your nerves, girl. When they become teenagers. And I used to tell them, don't speak that over my children, whether they were in the room or not. I don't accept that energy. First of all, to say that tells me what you think about you. And I'm not growing my children up to and conditioning them not to believe in themselves. I don't want to think that they are just destined to be some smart mouth, bad attitude women, catty women, which is what those people were speaking over their life for me. Right? Does that happen where let's just say girls, get an attitude because of hormones? That kind of stuff is very real. Absolutely. But so do boys. And that's not the thing that you hear when we reference them. We so often speak so lowly of our girls, of our females in society. And that is so whack to me. And as a female, I don't honor that. And as a mom of 3 girls, I refute it. I absolutely refute it. Not only will you not talk about me in that way, you for certainly will not speak that energy over my children. So I refute that, and it didn't matter who it looked like, who that was that said that. I used to shut it down. Again, the first thing it told me is what they thought about themselves, because they're a girl, and if they believe that about all little girls, then they believe that about themselves. And at what point did that change in them? Because it's not automatic. Age does not constitute wisdom. Right? So I shut that down immediately. And I used to speak over my girls, and I used to tell them things. I'm so appreciative of how you communicate with me. I hope that I'm creating a space so you feel like you can tell me anything. I hope that if I'm not, I want you to know that I'm open to a conversation with you about how I can do better. I don't want to come off as if I know it all. I value your opinion. Right? And while I may not have hit the mark all the time, I'm pretty sure that that's the overriding feeling that they have, because they told me, and perhaps they're not telling me everything, not even trying to pretend like they are. But I don't even know if I want to know everything as their mom. We're both doing the best we can. And as long as the space is created for them to tell me and they understand the rules in my home, that's the best we can do. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. It's working amazingly now for just about 19 years. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. So I say that to show you how small things equal all things. So if this is something that you want to stop, reverse, or, just no longer perpetuate, you have to change the language in which you speak to people. You have to change the language in which you speak to your children. Now let's talk about you deprogramming and stopping it in you. You have to change the language in which you speak to yourself. And I'm talking about subconsciously. I'm talking about replaying those old scenarios in your head, holding yourself hostage to who you used to be. Even the situation that you're in right now, it's a product of the past. It's a sum total of your past decisions. You can start and do differently right now and create some new results in your life. But it's up to you. And if you are continually speaking those old negative thoughts and words to yourself about yourself, then you are maintaining the conditioning that you have been taught of not believing in yourself. And if you don't believe in you, then you don't believe in other people. And that includes your children, loved ones, nieces, nephews, all that kind of stuff. We absolutely love the novelty around success, but I'm talking about at a visceral, energetic level. You don't believe that it's possible, and you don't believe it until you see it. And the reality is you won't see it until you believe it. Alrighty? So those are just some of the ways that, number one, you can illuminate what's going on with you. Number two, you can root out the cause. You can reveal the root of where this comes from. Number three, do the things it is that it takes to change that, to stop that and redirect the course. Another way that you can redirect or shift that paradigm is literally through affirmations, you all. Every day, all day. They say on average, we have about 70,000 thoughts that go through our head. It is absolutely impossible, or certainly next to impossible, to manage all of those thoughts all of the time, right? But what you can do is become conscious of as many as you can and create a new default for yourself. Because your brain creates routes, right? Meaning the thing it is that you do the most, it becomes familiar and you just can do it subconsciously. Like me driving home, like you driving. Have you ever been driving and coming home from work or wherever, whatever outing it is that you had, and said, Dad, how did I get home? You don't even really remember, because that route, that pathway is already embedded in your brain, and it's what you do subconsciously. Well, that's how thoughts are. Your other thoughts are as well. You have to create a new default, and that only comes through repetition. So you have to affirm daily that I love myself just the way that I am, that who I am and what I have to say is important, and I will use my voice every opportunity that it is appropriate, right? You have to say that to yourself as many times as possible, and whatever affirmation that looks like for you, of course, right? But you have to say that, and you have to believe that, and a belief is just the thoughts you keep thinking. So you have to keep thinking that until it changes into a belief, and break the conditioning that has been taught to you, that you are perpetuating subconsciously onto others. We can do it, you all. This is our work. This is our work. And I'm going to wrap it up with this, because I think I put something in there about the money. So if you don't believe in you, and I want to talk about this from a business standpoint, because I am an entrepreneur. If you don't believe in you, that's going to keep you separate from asking for what it is that you deserve, right? What it is that you truly deserve. Not what you've been conditioned to believe that you deserve, but I'm talking about literally from a numbers standpoint, the number of hours that you put in, the cost associated with what it is that you do, and the intellectual property it is that you've gained through your years of formal or business experience, right? So I'm talking about stuff like that. You have to price yourself accordingly. But so often, we don't want to ask for that much because we don't want to offend people. And most of the programs it is that I go to, because I go to a lot of things for women, because I am truly a woman's woman. I believe in us. I believe in investing in us. And I believe in working with us and bringing up my next fellow woman. But most of the programs and coaches that I run into at these events, it's all around mindset for women, because so often we just do the work, we put our head down, and we never want the recognition. We never want to be compensated, be it verbally or financially, for what it is that we do. We definitely need a pat on the back every now and again, but nothing that translates tangibly for us, especially when we go ahead and take the leap and own our own business. We're really afraid that, well, I just want somebody to work with me. Ooh. Yeah, I just want somebody to work with me, so I'm not going to ask for that much because I don't want them to run away. That's a mindset. That's part of that conditioning. You have to believe that your perfect client is out there. And in order to get to your perfect client, you're going to have to move out of the way some of the imperfect experiences and potential or prospects is what I'm trying to say. And that's okay. And you have to embrace the fact that that's all a part of the journey. So tell me if this makes sense. And your experience with it, and if you've been taught or conditioned, I'm trying to use the word I used here in the topic, but if you've been conditioned not to believe in yourself subconsciously or consciously, because that's happened as well. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm hoping that you take some of these tips and tools and execute them in your life, or put them into use in your life and take action behind it. You are worth the effort. You are worth every bit of the process it is that you have to go through to get to this. And I wish you all the best. I'm going to get out of here, but until we see each other again, remember, it's time to move beyond everyone else's expectations of who you ought to be and become the woman you thought that you could be. Bye.